Tonight we got something awesome. Tonight in our week 2 series of Blueprints, we are going to talk about what it takes to be a man. Ladies, understand I'm going to spend a lot of the night talking to and about them, but it's very important for you guys to listen to the things that I'm going to say. All right? It's very important for you guys to hear this, all right? Because you guys are going to get an opportunity to learn from God's perspective what a man looks like. And fellas, can I be honest with you? The men of this world are falling apart. And tonight, we're hoping to change some of that. So what does it mean to be a man? Does it mean to have more testosterone in your body? Does it mean to be strong? Which, by the way, I beat like a bunch of guys in arm wrestling before Revolution started. Does being a man simply mean if you have a penis? Is that it? Because if that's the case, then my son, who just turned 1-year-olds today, is a man because he has a penis. What does it mean to be a man? Just because, fellas, just because you pee standing up does not make you a man. Does not make you a man. Some of us, though, listen. Some of us, guys, let's be real. I think I'd have some pretty disturbing answers if I asked you guys what it takes to be a man, because let's be real. I'm not sure many of us know what it means to be. All right, what's it mean to be a man, Jeremiah? I'm going to put you on the spot. Nope, wrong. Hey, if pee standing up makes you a man, then I need to go have a conversation with all these fathers that walked out on their families because they pee standing up and they sure ain't a man. Anybody else want to take a stab at it? All right. Fellas, I think it's hard for us to answer that question, what does it take to be a man, because we don't know. Ladies, I think it's hard for you guys to identify what a man looks like because you haven't had the proper man in your life to show you. So tonight, I'm only going to be able to give you a glimpse. We don't have 5 weeks to address all the issues with the men in this world. But listen, ladies, I'm hoping tonight you may have a better understanding of what a man really looks like. Because I am tired. I'm tired of seeing daughters of God give up their hearts to some boy, and I know how it's going to end, and it never ends well. Fellas, you can laugh, but we're responsible for that, so that's not a funny thing. We haven't been shown men. Very few of us have been shown how a man acts, what a man looks like, how a man talks. So tonight, I'm gonna talk to you men, and we're gonna talk about the blueprint of what God created you to be. Ladies, don't worry. Next week, we're gonna talk to you guys. Now, guys, understand, you guys all got one card. You only need one card that was handed out the row. Save it for the end of my message. You only need one card. Please don't mess with me on this. We're going to do some serious stuff at the end of that with those cards, all right? So, since you guys probably haven't properly been shown the difference between a boy and a man, I'm going to help y'all out. Are y'all with me? Y'all ready to hear the differences between a boy and a man? All right. First, a boy is a consumer. They just take stuff, give me. A boy is a consumer, but a man is a producer. A man produces things to give back to the world or to provide for his family. Boys front, men hunt. Girls, hear me on this one. Boys look for what's cheap. Men look for what's quality. Boys are all about that bass. But a man doesn't let his eyes go past your face. And then he gets married, then he's all about that bass. Boys are concerned about their rep. Gotta have your rep. So boys are concerned about a rep. But listen, a man is concerned about his character. After this, and you guys are going to do all the googly, ooh, ah, that kind of stuff. This one, however, is one that I don't like to say. Boys make babies, but men raise babies. A boy acts hard and challenges their youth director to an arm wrestling contest and lose. A boy acts hard, but a man works hard. A boy demands respect. That you should just respect him. A boy demands respect, but a man is respectable. He doesn't have to demand it. Rudy, there you go. Boys create excuses for their failures, while men create strategies for success. It ain't my fault. I didn't do it. I wasn't there. I didn't know. Boys look for a woman to help him feel better. But men look for women to help them be better. When it comes to life and living it, a man looks down the road in his future, but a boy can't cross the street. I'm going to talk about this one a little bit later in my message, this last one. A boy is scared of responsibility, but a man is scared of a lack of responsibility. There is a drastic difference between a boy and a man, and let's be honest, there have been an abundance of boys, but an absence of men. There are boys you can find everywhere you look, but a man, they're rare. They're rare to find. 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put all of that waste of time behind me. I'm going to rephrase that. When I was a boy, I spoke like a boy. I thought like a boy. I reasoned like a boy. When I became a man, I put boyish things behind me. Because of our absence of man and our abundance of boys, we've just started accepting that that's how it's going to be. And ladies, you guys have just lowered the standard of what you're worth because there are so many boys and there are so few men, and so you're just trying to get the best that you have around you. I know there's a lot of boys out there. I know there's a lot of boys in your school. But can I just say something really quick to you guys? If you raise the bar to only accept men, I promise you, they will step up. If you raise the bar, if you raise the standard, they will meet it. But we have placed it so low that they have no reason to try. Tonight, let's be real. I've already said some pretty tough things. Tonight, I'm probably going to offend some people. I probably already have. I saw 3 of them walk out already. Tonight, I'm probably going to offend people. That's not my goal. Tonight, can I be honest also, I'm probably going to hurt some feelings. That's not my mission. Tonight, I'm gonna put some real statistics on the board, and some of you guys are going to go deep into a depression because it reminds you of something you walked in through, and I just want you guys to stay focused on me. Fellas, don't glaze over on me tonight. There's a problem, and it's not their problem. We got to start being men. So guys, pay attention. Ladies, pay attention. And hopefully we're all going to leave here a little smarter. So if we're going to talk about men, I thought it would be good to talk about one of the most manliest men in the Bible. A man that every other man in the Bible knows about. A man that even if you don't go to church, chances are you know about this man. Because he was a man. This man killed bears. This man killed lions. He slept outdoors on the grass. This man slayed giants. This man saved a nation. Let me talk about this one. This man was hot. All right. Let's face it, he had it going on. All right. This man was hot. He was a musician. He was a poet. I got all these girls blushing right now. But listen, they're blushing because I'm talking about a real man. So tonight, if we wanted to talk about men, I wanted to look at one of the manliest men in the Bible. And this man, this very attractive, strapping, conquering, outdoorsman, manly kind of man, his name is David. Now understand, with all of that, David was emotional. You guys are emotional too. You just won't admit it. David was emotional. He went through a lot of stuff. He was liked by everybody. He's the one that slayed Goliath. He was the one that was next in line to be king. And there were some people who didn't like it, and he had to hide in a cave. People have tried to kill him on more than one occasion. I guess that's a pretty manly quality too. No one's tried to kill me yet. Not that I know of. I'm watching you, Trey Fabian. So this manly man, he was just in this really tough time. His son was trying to take over his kingdom. He was just trying to figure it all out. And so what he often did is he wrote poems to God. Instead of going, so we can talk about this as man. Instead of going and complaining to all of his friends, he had God change his perspective. Because he was a man. And he wrote this about himself. And holy cow, I don't even think I could say this about myself. In Psalm 139, because I told you who this guy was. He was just kidding. This verse is in Psalm 139, verse 14. This is David talking about himself. He says, thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. I picture him like writing this as he's kissing his bicep. He's looking at a mirror. Your workmanship is so marvelous. How well I know it. Now, I just read that how I kind of first read it in my mind, because that's kind of an arrogant, it comes across as a very arrogant verse, am I right? Some of y'all are wanting to use this as a pickup line. Hey, lady, you know how marvelous this workmanship is. Not going to happen. David was saying this about himself because he was needing a perspective change on who he was and what he was created to be. He felt worthless. His son, one of his sons, had betrayed him, was trying to kill him and take his kingdom. And right now, he is running and he feels worthless. So he has a conversation with God and he reminds himself of who his creator says that he is. And listen, maybe if we started seeing ourselves as this, we'd stop treating our lives like a joke. We don't take a Ferrari through the desert. We don't take our girlfriend on a nice date to the taco truck. If they do that, don't show up and don't call them back. You don't take your phone and throw it into a pool. If you realize that something is valuable, you take care of it and you treat it as such. And men, if we have any in here, need to start seeing ourselves the way God does. Wonderfully complex, marvelous workmanship. And we need to stop treating ourselves like a joke, like we don't matter, like we don't have purpose, because maybe down the road some chump boy who was an authority figure in your life told you so. It's the thing, boys don't get to tell me what to do. And it's funny, because we're talking about this value thing. Has any of you guys ever almost got into a fight because someone scuffed your shoe or almost did? Like, yeah, some of y'all in here, you go crazy, right? Okay. See, I had this homie that I went to school with, and he had these Timberlands, because that was hot back then, all right? It was fresh, all right? He was my hood, you know? Now listen, this dude didn't have a lot of money. His parents, their house was being paid for by the state. He didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a job, didn't have a car. And these Timberlands were probably the most valuable thing that he ever owned. And I promise you, every time it rained, or even if it was possible to rain, or if there were puddles outside, when he was riding his bike to school, he had plastic bags over his Timbs because they were valuable to them and they were not a joke. And some of us need to start seeing ourselves as valuable. Because listen, not only were you created, you were marvelously designed. Trey Fabian, don't get cocky on me when I tell you this. You were marvelously designed. Liddell, I've only known you for a couple of weeks, man. You were marvelously designed. See yourself as it. Stop treating your life like a joke. So what were we created for? I'm going to talk about two things. The first one I'm going to talk about very briefly, and the second one I'm going to take my time on because that's probably where my heart is the most for where our men need to hear of some things that need to be changed. This first one I'm going to talk about comes from 1 Corinthians 11:3. It says, "But I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ." Number one, the head of every real man is Christ. The head of a wife is her husband, and the head of Christ is God. This talks about us just as man on individual, making sure the first thing we need to know is the head of us is Christ, the one who controls, leads, guides is Christ. Then in a marriage, wives, this is going to be tough, all right? It's easy, though. This is easy to do when you find a man, to let him be the head of your relationship. You guys don't want that sometimes because you're afraid of it. But if you wait for a man, they will be the head of the relationship that you need them to be. You can follow them. And I know in this day of independence and women wanting to be equal, you guys are absolutely equal. God loves you just as much as he loves them, and you are just as valuable as they are. But God created them with something, and we need to allow them to do it to an extent. You guys are the head. Don't just read that verse and let it go through your mind. Let that put weight on you. Feel the weight of it. The first thing we're going to talk about is you guys were created to be leaders. To be leaders. And women, this doesn't mean that you guys can't be leaders, because let's be honest, I know some female leaders who lead way better than some men that I know. And they're all coaches in this youth ministry. So women, you guys absolutely get to lead. You guys absolutely get to lead. But men, we were created to have headship over this world, over our brothers and our sisters, our wives and our children. And let's be honest, in Revolution, we're kind of coming out of this, but there was a couple years where I was seeing the women step up in influential roles more than I was seeing the men, and it always bothered me. That men did not want to step up and take their role, or should I say boys didn't want to step up and take their role as men. But I want to celebrate because I feel with Revo Initiative, I feel like we're starting to come out of a bunch of this, and men or boys are starting to step up into their role as men and take initiative in the influence that God gave them and the headship that he created them to have and the leadership and authority that he wants them to have and will give it to you when he can trust you with it. You guys were not just born, you were created to lead. And what does it mean to lead? It doesn't just mean telling people to shut up and follow you. Leading, to be the head over something, is to understand who you are the head over, who you are leading, understand what they need, and then providing it for them. They are meant to provide for what you guys need. And if you get some dude that's just trying to mooch off you, that ain't a man. And stop wasting your time. Please stop wasting your time. The second thing I wanted to talk about is something that us as males are losing at a very rapid pace. The second thing is probably where my heart connects, and I'm going to try not to take too long on this because I want to do something really cool at the end. The second thing that I feel like us men are losing is responsibility. Worship team, come on. Responsibility. Genesis 2, verse 15. I'm not sure if I made a slide for this. But we talked about last week how God created man in his own image. Do you guys know the very first thing God told man to do? Oh, let me help you. Genesis 2:15, God created man, and it says, the Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden to tend and watch over it. He didn't place them in a living room on a sofa and said, watch TV and just be lazy. He said, if you want to thrive the way I created you to thrive, you need to have responsibility and be responsible for something important. And we are losing men who desire God's responsibility. Because we weren't just created to live on this earth. We weren't created to just take handouts from everybody around us. God told us that all of this planet is here for us to reign over, rule over, and be responsible for. Be responsible for. Hey, fellas in the back, if you're going to take pictures in Revolution, you can go take pictures out in the foyer because I don't got time for that. And I'm going to be rough with you because I care about you guys and y'all need to hear this. So after God created us, the first thing he did was give us responsibility. And then after, listen ladies, after God gave us responsibility, then he created them. After God gave us responsibility, he created these amazing, beautiful daughters of God over here. Sometimes I wonder why he did it in that order. And maybe it's because he wanted to know that he could trust us with something small before he gave us something big. Ladies, if a man hasn't taken this responsibility, then God's not ready to create you in his life yet. He can keep his ribs, and he can go do his own thing. Because God wants them to have responsibility so that he knows he can trust them with you. Because you guys are valuable. You guys are valuable. God created us to be responsible. So, man, Adam, woman, Eve, in the garden, naked, having a blast. They're having a blast because they're not being lazy. They are tending over the gardens and the animals and working the earth. Because you guys, and we'll talk about this probably next week, you guys are to help them. You guys are to help them, not distract them, not hinder them, not make them feel better. You guys are to help them. You guys are to help them. So everything's awesome. And then we made our first mistake. We ate a fruit we weren't supposed to eat. Having everything. Having joy. Having peace. Not questioning who does God have out there for us. Not questioning does God have purpose for me or who has he created in me. We had peace about all of that. And then we ate this fruit. Romans 5:12. This is be a wake-up call for you men, because I don't know if many of you guys have heard this. Leaders included. Romans 5:12 says, when Adam sinned, sin entered the world. Adam's sin brought death. So death spread to everyone. For now everyone sinned. When Adam sinned, he brought death. Now don't get me wrong. The Bible's pretty clear that Eve was the first person to take a bite of that fruit. yeah, there's some questions on, was Adam there? Was he not there? Was he there the whole time? Did he come at the end? And it doesn't matter, because whether they ate the fruit first, sin only entered the world through us. And we have to start taking responsibility for the sin that exists on our planet, in our state, in our city, in our homes. That responsibility is not on them. It's on us. And it's not a joke, because we are bringing death. You guys can see why I'm passionate about this now. Because the devil's smart. He's making us not want responsibility. And when we don't want responsibility, we want to pass it off on somebody else. And it's time for you to take responsibility. It's time for me, for us, to start a change where men start to take responsibility. And women understand, I by no means blame Eve for eating the fruit, because Adam has his own mind. Adam has his own convictions, and he was an idiot. He could say no just as well as you guys did. He didn't. So don't hear me say I'm mad at Eve and I blame her, because it's obviously not your guys' fault. It is our fault. It is our responsibility. And ever since we ate this, we've been trying to pass the buck. We've been trying to point fingers. We've been, this phrase that goes around that says, worry about yourself. No, don't worry about yourself. Let's be responsible for each other. That's how the church works. That's how the church works. But I don't want nobody in my business. Well, then great, you're going to fail. Because God says you're better when you're together and you care about each other and you're responsible for one another and you honor one another and you take care of one another. So, fellas, are we going to start taking responsibility? Grab those cards that you have. Just one card if you have one. I just want you to have one card. Grab it. Please don't give me a hard time about this illustration. I need you guys to help me, because it's going to be very eye-opening for you guys. It's going to be very eye-opening for us. I'm going to bring up some statistics, and I'm going to have some of you guys, I'm going to call your card. When I call your card, I want you to, color card, I just want you to stand up where you're at, and we're going to kind of figure out if you guys represent all the men in America, or the world for some of them. If you guys represent all the men in America or the world, what percentage in this room is struggling with this statistic? So we'll start with something simple. Xander, stand up. We'll kind of halfway stand up, because it's like 1%, and like half of you might be 1%. So for instance, 1%, Xander represents 1%. 1% represents the amount of men in this world that can dunk a basketball, all right? All right, so you can sit down now. So some of y'all are in the 1%. You're like, and some of you guys are like, stop reminding me. So let's try this one. If you are holding a card that is green and yellow, stand up. Green and yellow, stand up. It's going to be another tough one. Green and yellow, stand up. Yellow cards, stand up as well. Green and yellow, stand up. Okay. Now you guys represent the 55% of adult men who still play video games. Don't get me wrong, I like video games, but I got 3 kids I'm responsible for. All right, sit down. If you are holding I think we have blue cards. Blue cards, stand up. Blue cards, stand up. You guys represent the 25% of men who will divorce their wives. Stay standing. Don't sit down. Don't sit down. Don't sit down. Stand back up. You guys represent the percentage of men in the United States that will divorce their wives, leave them, abandon them, never talk to them again, feel bad for them. No, they don't. That's what you guys get to represent. Do you feel the responsibility yet? You feel it yet? Can you stay standing? And just so you guys know, the likelihood of divorce happening second and third marriage just continues to go up. Second marriages are 60% likely to divorce. Third marriages are 73% likely to divorce. And I'm going to have you guys stay standing for this because you guys are included. I think the other color is red. All my red card people, stand up. Stand up, red cards. Okay. You guys, oh, I hate this one. I don't even want to say it. Because something has to change. God, I want something to change. You guys represent the percentage of men who will walk out on their children forever. Stay standing. Feel the weight of it. You guys represent the amount of men who will see their kids smile at them in the doorway and then leave and drive out the driveway and never turn back. Are we ready to be responsible yet? Let me add to it. Fatherless homes, which you guys represent. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. 90% of homeless children are from fatherless homes. 85% of children with behavior problems come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts are from homes that don't have a daddy. 85% of youth that are in prison right now don't have a father waiting for them when they get out. 70% of child abuse happens when daddy leaves home. 70% of kids getting sexually harassed by stepdad or boyfriend or whatever happen when we leave home. And I have to talk to some of those kids at this altar every week. And I can't change it. All I can do is say, I'm sorry. %80 of rapists with anger problems grew up without a father. You guys can sit down. Girls, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we weren't responsible enough. I'm sorry that through my sin, death entered this world. I'm sorry. And if you're walking through some of that I just said, God loves you. He never intended for you to walk through that. And if any man needs to be responsible, I'll take it. All right? I'll take it. So sin entered the world through man, through Adam, through us. That's also why kids are born in sin, because we are involved in the recreation, reproduction process. But here's the cool thing. Fellas, here's the cool thing. Even in our worst day, we have been redeemed. We have been redeemed because God saw fit to take a woman who is not responsible for the sin entering in this world, and God himself, perfect, put a baby in her stomach with no man involved. That man born, died on a cross, destroyed sin in this world. One man took responsibility for everything that we had done, and that is Jesus Christ. Just as sin entered the world through a man, sin was also conquered by a man. We have been redeemed. In 1 Corinthians 15:21, it says, "For since death came through a man, the resurrection of the dead also comes through a man." We get to be responsible for changing the definition of what it takes to be a man in this culture. Some of y'all haven't had a father figure to look up to identify what a man looks like, and tonight, that is no longer going to be an excuse for you to relive that life. Tonight, we get to take responsibility. Are you guys with me, though?